Welcome to part two of Texas Folklife's 2023 Apprenticeship Program Virtual Showcase. I'm Marco Guarino, the Program Coordinator for Texas Folklife's Apprenticeships in the Folk and Traditional Arts Program. Thank you so much for joining us. Since 1987, the Apprenticeship Program has supported the training of hundreds of folk and traditional artists throughout the state, and each year, Texas Folklife provides $3,000 awards to 8 artist mentors, ensuring the opportunity for them to equitably offer one-on-one training in art, cultural, or heritage practices to dedicated apprentices over the course of 6 to 8 months. Rooted in intensive extended periods of observation and demonstration, conversation and practice, apprenticeships are often a private matter held between the mentor and apprentice. Our virtual showcase provides a unique public-facing window into the collaboration of this year's artist teams. In part two, our apprentices in folk guitar and songwriting, trail riding, Indian classical dance, and artisanal fishing lure construction will share the skills and techniques, lessons, experiences, stories, and memories they gained from their mentors, while fostering their respective traditions throughout the program. Our first team of part two of this showcase is mentor Michael Sinks and his apprentice Ariane Keller. Hailing from Pampa, Texas, in the Panhandle region, this apprenticeship team upholds a long-lasting Texan tradition, Americana folk guitar. As executive director of the Woody Guthrie Folk Music Center in Pampa, Michael Sinks holds a weekly jam session where the legacy of Woody Guthrie lives on in their repertoire of folk songs, played on instruments like guitars and accordions. At these jam sessions, Ariane found herself inspired to improve her guitar and songwriting skills with a pursuit to become a successful songwriter. Ariane, who is just out of high school, shows a lot of promise in her talent and sensibility. Michael decided to take on the task of coaching her in the traditions of folk guitar, as well as in the art of songwriting, and being a part of Texas Folklife's apprenticeship program was a no-brainer. It is my pleasure to present to you Michael Sinks and Ariane Keller.
Hello there.
Hello.
Well, we're glad to be here. We're at the Woody Guthrie Folk Music Center, and my name is Michael Sinks. This is Ariane. I think you've already announced this, but this deal is more about passing on the idea of people playing music together. That's what we do here every Friday night, and one generation to another. Ariane has showed up here in the last several years and become a part of our group here, and it's really been a pleasure to get to work with her and to share some of the songs that we all love to do. Ariane's background is more of a inspirational.
Yes, more Christian music, more kind of like I guess heartwarming, inspirational. And
I like to tell. I have kids come down here. We do programs for them, and I like to tell them that all music is folk music. It all comes from a place that we all kind of, it's primal. It seems like we've kind of got it inside us, and I don't care what the genre is. Americana is all these songs that were brought together from all the different people that came here. And I kind of thought that for our show here, we would, our presentation, we'd start out with a folk song of my era when I first started doing this, and of course I was now I'm a Woody Guthrie follower. I run the place here, the Woody Guthrie Folk Music Center, but of course Bob Dylan was a big Woody Guthrie fan, and so I'm going to do a Dylan song here for you that we'd like to do. 2, 3, 4. Clouds so swift and the rain won't lift. gates closed and the railings froze. Get your mind on the winter time, 'cause you ain't going nowhere.
Ooh, she rides me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in the easy chair? I don't care how many letters they send. Morning came and the morning went. Pick up your money, pick up your tent, 'cause you ain't going nowhere. Ooh, she rides me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in the easy chair?
Gonna buy me a flute and a gun that shoots, tailgates and substitutes. Strap yourself to a tree with roots, 'cause you ain't going nowhere.
Ooh, she rides me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in the easy chair? Genghis Khan, he could not keep all his kings complied with sleep. We'll climb the hill no matter how steep when we get up to it. Ooh, she rides me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in the easy chair? Ooh, she rides me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in the easy chair?
All right. Arian, you want to tell us kind of how you came to be here? What's got you started playing the guitar and all that?
So about almost 5 years ago, I went to a little camp. It was just a little camp at a church, and it was a guitar camp. And she was kind enough to teach me how to play guitar and showed me all the tricks. And in a week, I think I did pretty good learning the basics of the chords down. And then my grandparents actually told me about Woody Guthrie. So after I got done with the camp, I decided that the next Friday I wanted to come down and play for their jam session that they have. So I came down, played a song, and I've been here ever since.
With 1 week's experience, you came down here.
1 week's experience, yeah.
And what was the song that everybody loved to hear you?
Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, be happy. We're not going to do that right now. But later on, you'll get it. That will become important. I think right now, we did a song from my generation. We're going to do one now that's just more of a, old time, everybody knows type song. But the idea is that, you can change the words up a little bit and make it your song. You can make any song your song. And that's kind of what we like to show people, that, this is every man's music. Anybody can learn to do this and have fun, and something you can do the rest of your life. It's, you get too old to play tennis or football, but you can play the guitar for a long, long time. We have an accordion player that's 87 that plays with us. So 8 decades she's been doing it, and she's still our inspiration. She keeps us going. But let's do this one. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around Texas, I'm gonna let it shine. All around Texas, I'm gonna let it shine. All around Texas, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I'm gonna pick my guitar strings, I'm gonna let it ring. I'm gonna pick my guitar strings, I'm gonna let it ring. I'm gonna pick my guitar strings, I'm gonna let it ring, let it ring, let it ring, let it ring.
Do Lord, oh do remember me.
Do Lord, oh do Lord,
oh do
remember me.
Do Lord, oh do remember me. Way beyond the blue.
Walking on the streets of gold, I'm gonna sing for joy. Walking on the streets of gold, I'm gonna sing for joy. Walking on the streets of gold, I'm gonna sing for joy, sing for joy, sing for joy, sing for joy. This little light of mine,
I'm gonna let it shine.
this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right. I don't know how much time we got left here. I tell you what got me started doing this. I was in about the 4th grade, and I had a buddy that played the guitar, and he invited me over to his house for a weekend, and we sat down and had dinner together. And for the first time ever, they played a record while we were eating dinner, and it was Merle Haggard singing Jimmy Rogers, and everybody's sitting around chewing to the music, you know. And I thought, this is really strange. We never did that at my house. But after dinner, we cleaned up, and everybody went and got their instruments and sat around the living room and started playing music. And I was hooked. I said, I've got to learn to do this. This looks like fun. And that guy still comes down here. We're still friends today. So anyway, Arian's going to do a song that she wrote during the course of our apprenticeship program here. We got to start a songwriters group here at the Woody Guthrie Folk Music Center. So we've been a part of that since January. And there was an opportunity that came up because we got to do this. So this is one of the songs that she came up with, and it's about this place and these people here.
Woody Guthrie has done a lot for me. I've definitely had a lot of encouragement and a lot of support through them. And I wanted to just write a song just for them because they mean a lot to me, and they have shown me basically everything that I know. So this is my original song, My Folk.
There's a place where I feel most at home. The building there is white and kind of old. There's no place I'd rather be than right here on these red brick streets. People there are everything to me. They taught me how to pick these guitar strings. And I don't know what I'd do or who I'd be, but to see them laughing and smiling back at me Some say I might be foolish, but a wise man once called it love. I'm moving on a little further down the road. It's getting harder to let that place go. Don't worry, don't cry. I'll be back sometime. Don't worry, don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry, don't worry. Be happy for me. Be happy for me. Be happy for me. Be happy for me.
I think that's about our time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about that time. I would like to thank the both of you, and good luck, Ariane. Thank you for being here. So moving on to our second group. Our next apprenticeship team hails from Houston and Lufkin, and they are rooted in the Texan tradition of trail riding. Jacques's family spans generations in the region. Jacques currently leads trail rides in East Texas with his group, the Big Body Riders, and where other traditions adjacent to trail riding, like Zydeco music, take place. The art of trail riding is important to preserve as traditions get pushed away by modernity's technological advancements and environmental challenges. Dahlia, Jacques's apprentice, is also a multi-generational Texan, a journalist and an activist who feels the responsibility of preserving the tradition of trail riding. And through the apprenticeship program, the opportunity to support this project arose. Using the methodology of oral history, Dahlia sought to document this tradition through an accessible medium, audio recordings of interviews with people in the community of trail riding. Dahlia holds an impressive resume as well, previously working as a journalist for NPR and the Texas Observer, among others. This apprenticeship is a promising project that will build an indispensable archive of Texan traditions, life, and art. Let's give a warm welcome to Jacques and Dahlia.
Thank you so much, Marco. Hey, Jacques.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
So just to give y'all some background here, me and Jacques have already had an existing relationship even before this apprenticeship. We grew up in the same town. Our families know each other very closely, and so this was really kind of like a seamless and effortless, apprenticeship for us. We originally were going to air a audio documentary, but Adobe Audition decided to crash all of a sudden. Mercury retrograde is in full effect. And so instead, we're going to choose to do a live interview and basically just asking questions around what trail riding is and also kind of how Jacques got into trail riding in the first place. And so just to jump into the interview, Jacques, can you tell me a little bit about how many generations of your family actually spans into Deep East Texas?
We have 4 generations going back into trail riding out of East Texas.
All right. And can you, before we even delve into what trail riding, or how the trail riding that you do, what is trail riding in the first place? If you can kind of sum it up, because I know that there are different components and different parts, but how can you describe it?
Trail riding is a pleasurable horsemanship and honoring horses and being able to deal and contain horses and the upkeep of horses. It's also just a weekend getaway from the long work week you done had, and that's how it started many years ago. My grandfathers, they work all week, and we use the trail riding on a Saturday as a way to break free and relax from the work week and just life itself.
All right. And so what are the different components that actually go into a trail ride, right? So like if I'm walking into a trail riding event, exactly what are the things I'm going to see? And then what are the things that I'm going to see throughout the day as well?
Well, you're gonna see plenty of horses, beautiful horses, and people that know how to handle and have learned. Because when you go to a trail ride, you don't. It's not a rodeo or anything, but it's a pleasure ride for people to enjoy the music, the weekend, and enjoy their horses, and just enjoy just the free breaking away from everything.
All right. And I know that you mentioned your grandfather is actually the one who taught you how to trail ride. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? So, what age did you begin to ride? And then kind of, even compared to when you were growing up, what are the differences in trail riding events now?
There's a lot of difference in them. As things change from generation to generation. I started back trail riding with my grandfather when I was 7 or 8 years old. And at this particular time, it was used as, like a personal hobby for people that were horse people to get away and enjoy their animals, showcase their animals, let other people see what type of breeds and what type of good horses they had. For many people that might want to come breed with you or might want to train and get their horses trained by you and etc. Uh, Back then, that was like 40 years ago. So with just the live music, a DJ, and you would just come ride your horse. And then at the end of the trail ride, they would provide everyone with a free meal. It's changed drastically, being that economy and the just new generation. Big Body, we bought to our trail ride live Zydeco bands. We've been doing it for 22 years now, but we always have a live Zydeco band. And with that said, that's the expenses being need to be met because you're bringing in a live band. So it kind of changed on the cost of it, but it's still basically the same. People still wait to the weekend and that are horse people and they go out and have a trail ride on maybe a dirt road or a county road, somewhat of peace and just good, tranquility and air and atmosphere.
Right, right. And I love this picture that you paint of peace, right? So when we're talking about Deep East Texas, what a lot of folks don't know is that Deep East Texas held at one point the most African Americans in the state, and specifically the most slaves in the state historically. And so this is why you see large amounts of Black folks in East Texas. I think that East Texas is also a great example of what the significance of Black folks' relationship to the natural terrain, right? To the ecology around them, right? So when we're talking about Black cowboys, we're also talking about farmers. We're also talking about folks who have owned generations of land, right? That has historically been taken away from them. Even if we look at the stats in Texas, we also know that this is the most land, like in Texas we hold the most land that has been taken away from Black people specifically. And so when we're talking about those landowners, we're also talking about trail riders, right? There's a direct through line from that too. And so can you tell me a little bit about your trail riding organization, right? There's this heritage that you're preserving, and kind of what is the significance of kind of making sure that we keep trail ride or organizations and associations intact today?
First of all, we have to stay about and stay on what it is traditionally. Uh, a lot of people think trail riding today is just a big party scene. Don't get me wrong, you do have your party after the trail ride at the end of the night, and it's not a party, it's a dance in actuality. It's a trail riding dance. So it's not just really a party. But at the same time, it's a Western trail riding country girls, country boys that assemble and they're trying to keep a Western heritage going on. Uh, Ways we can protect it today is we have to inform the new generation and keep them on what it's about. Um, and that's pretty much one of the barriers of just keeping it what it is.
Right. And I'm even thinking about the costs associated, right? Even during our apprenticeship, one of the conversations we actually had was it's more expensive to actually host a trail ride now, right? So like trail rides used to be about the riding and it's more so about the entertainment now. And now the entertainment is in itself is the attraction to the trail ride, which is more expensive for the trail
Yeah,
riders.
yes, that's true. And the entertainment just comes as a plus with the Zydeco music because we only have Zydeco bands, which is Cajun. If you people don't know, Cajun music out of Louisiana.
Yep.
Uh, that's just like to put a little more into the event and make it that much more. So, like I said previously, if we've been doing it for 20 years the way we do it, and we make money and we don't get rich off of it, but our club it puts us in a situation to where okay, we can help out in the community. We have family community days for people that don't get the experience of actually being on a horse or taking care of a horse or just being around horses, period. So we have events that we have throughout the year, such as that, what we call Family and Friends Day, where if you don't have, the knowledge or the accessibility to get to these this type of things dealing with horses, we have a totally free day on the weekend where you can come out and learn knowledge of it.
All right. And one of the things that I loved learning from you was about horses, right? You mentioned how the horsemanship of trail riding is what's essential. Folks' relationship to the animals, right? To the animal that they have to depend on in order to get them from point A to point B and back, right?
Yeah,
One of the things I remember specifically is you talking about having control of the horse's head, and we talked about how that analogy even translates across right to like even resilience as Black folks who come from a very both beautiful and volatile part of the state, right? We see firsthand what the ramifications of not providing resources for Black communities in a rural area is. Can you tell me a little bit about, that analogy of like having control of the horse's head and being able to actually like be one, one with the horse when you're actually riding it?
that's true and that's correct. You have to have control of a horse head is the most important thing when you're dealing with a horse, whether you're on his back or whether you're on the ground. Having the control of one's head, it just makes you that much more safer and puts you in a position where this horse can't do what he wants to do, but he has to do what you want him to do.
Right.
And it's all in safety, so no one gets hurt because horses are big animals. They weigh a lot, and you can't get hurt on them if you don't know what you're doing. But on the horse's head, just for instance, I think I showed you an instance, Delia, where if you don't have control, he can run off with you and you can't stop him. If a horse has his head and he gets away from you, it's really nothing you can do.
Right.
And he's just gone until you go catch him or hem him up or anything. He's just gone because you let his head get away.
Right. 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 And we were even talking about how like even during this pandemic, right? Like we saw it kind of hit trail riders pretty hard and how that
Yeah,
relationship between the animals is essential right now to kind of keep us, kind of grounded. right now as well. And since we are on the subject of COVID, can you tell me a little bit about how, and this is one of the last questions, how COVID has impacted trail riding communities right now, right? So we're seeing, when the pandemic first started, we saw like a dismal amount of people begin to show up at trail riding events. But I'm wondering overall financially, I'm wondering, emotionally, what were some of those impacts from the pandemic?
Well, it hurt some. COVID hurt everything
Mhm.
all over the world, first of all, and we were impacted just like any other uh, organization, business, or anything, because it made people stay in for safety. So if the people are staying in for safety, which you couldn't blame them because nobody wants to get sick with COVID. Um, it impacted the turnout, so therefore it limited your support. So
Mhm.
the money you had been making, like I say, many other organizations, that hurt them. It was like a cutback for them.
Right.
So in all actuality, is it slowed things down, just like it did everywhere over the world,
Right. Right.
and it limited a lot.
Yeah.
For instance, we are an organization that we try to do what we can in our community, and it limited those funds that we would like. We give our love offerings, and a love offering is a family in need or someone that's on hard times or done went through something medically and they might be behind on their bills. We would always give a love offering, but if we didn't have that money coming in, that kind of limited the love offerings.
All right. Yeah, yeah, and I think that this is a great transition into our next question and our last question since we have about 2 minutes left. Can you tell me a little bit about what are some of the resources that trail riding organizations, whether they were impacted by COVID or not, what are some of the things that y'all provide? Right, you mentioned that y'all go out and y'all provide, a space for kids to see the horses, but I know that there was a mention of scholarship and whatever else that y'all may be providing for the community too.
Yes, we give our scholarships every year, and the scholarship recipient has to be a high school grad that's going straight into college. And what we do is each club and our organizations, we probably around 15 clubs. Each club is able to get $1,000 for their club each year for each kid going to attend college. Um, we've been gracefully blessed to keep it going on, but at the same time, the scholarship funds were kind of cut in half as to where it was $1,000 per student. We had to drop it down to
Mhm.
$500 per student. So that kind of hurt us, but we were blessed to able to still be doing something.
Right. Right. All right. Well, that was my last question. And I do want to say something before we do roll off, though. I want to say that it's been an honor being able to apprentice under you. And that honestly, like this has been one of the most eye-opening experiences for me, even though we grew up in the same area and even though I know about trail riding and I've been around trail rides, it's different when you get to interact firsthand behind the scenes. And it also just showcases the importance of honing in and preserving these stories, especially when we're talking about Black reparations and especially when we're talking about resourcing Black communities, because it's these trail riding organizations that continue to helm and to hold the history of a lot of folks who have been sorely marginalized over the past hundreds of years. So thank you so much, Douglas.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dahlia, and thank you, Jacqueline. Do you want to play the video?
We don't have to if you want. It's just of a trail ride, but if folks want to see it, that's
Yeah,
totally fine.
let's play it.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Marco.
Yeah, no problem. That looks like fun. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate you. Thank you too, man.
So our next apprenticeship team is really special because it makes clear exactly why this work is so important. Richard Whitehead has been making artisanal fishing lures for over 25 years. He is renowned for his craft and has a variety of media coverage throughout the years to prove it. He met Bill, his apprentice, about 7 years ago in an online forum about fishing lures, and they've been working together ever since. Bill Bailey was working in furniture restoration when he took an interest in the art of the fishing lure and never looked back. He was able to transfer his skills as a woodworker quite easily. The reason why I put emphasis on how important our work is as advocates for work and artists like these is because unfortunately Richard passed away earlier this year, and the urgency to document this process of passing on a Texan tradition was of utmost importance. In many cases, traditions like this are lost in the shuffle of life if we do not take time to document them. With the assistance of our apprenticeship program, Richard's legacy will live on in Bill's work. I want to thank Richard for his perseverance to keep working, and Bill for the care and passion he has to keep Richard's legacy alive. Bill Bailey couldn't make it today, but he left us a message, and we will share it with you right now.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Bailey, and I'm apprentice in the TexasFolklife.org 2023 Mentorship Program. I live in Madisonville, Texas, and unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, I will not be able to attend the live program, so I am submitting this video program. It didn't go so well when I tried the Thursday night test run, so this hopefully will work and y'all will get to meet me and see our work and what we did this year in the program. Unfortunately, my mentor, Richard Whitehead, was battling cancer and passed away in the middle of our program, but I was able to learn a lot of valuable information from him and was honored and blessed, and it was a privilege to get to work with him before he passed away. Richard passed away on May 16th of this year. And our specialty was the art of the fishing lure. Richard was a carver, a wood carver, and a lure maker, and he passed on that love and desire to me in my own special way, and it's been really a blessing, and I've really enjoyed it. So I'd like to kind of share with you a little bit about what Richard taught me and what he did and what I'm doing now in his honor. So I'll take the phone and kind of show you what we do here. We would kind of start off basically with just a block of wood. Simple block of cedar wood, and then take it, cut it out on a bandsaw into a shape that we're looking for, and then we'll take like a Dremel and smooth it out and shape it off a little more, drill some holes for the eyes and possibly a hole for a belly weight. It doesn't take very much to make a fishing lure. All you need is some wood, some fishing hooks, some screw eyes, and a couple of split rings. If you want to get really fancy, you can get some glass eyes. They make glue-on eyes. And then just a little bit of hobby paint is pretty much all it takes to make a fishing lure. Now, once you have a lure body cut out, we use these little bamboo skewers, we call paint sticks. We'll put the block, what we cut out, this is like a little popper lure, put that on the end of the paint stick and prime it and then paint it, because as you can tell, it's a lot easier to turn, twist, and hold and paint while the paint dries, and then we'll stick it in a little holder while it dries, and then usually do at least a dozen at a time. That way the paint's drying on one, you can pick up another one and start painting on it a little bit. Now most lure makers use airbrush equipment, but Richard was old school. He's just no country boy. He always wore his overalls. In fact, he was the master of folk art lures. He was featured in several fishing lure books, lots of newspaper articles and magazine articles about his carving of birds and folk art lures. As you can tell, they're kind of unique and they stand out. Now, Richard lived in Coleman, Texas, and this is some of his work here. He lived in Woodville, Texas, which is just, I'm sorry, Coleman Hill, Texas, which is just north of Woodville, Texas, which is right by the Alabama Coshada Indian Reservation. And he spent a lot of time with the Indians and going to powwows. And he also made arrows and made arrowheads. He was a very talented man, and just a pleasure to know. I enjoyed going over to visit him in Coleman Hill, Texas. But as you can tell, he had a very unique style. His lures kind of talk to you, and I can kind of see an Indian influence in his painting style. This was a little program for when I went to his funeral on May 16th up there in Coleman Hill, Texas. Now, I'm a little younger and newer than him, and I kind of like the shiny new car look, so I told Richard I wanted to use epoxy because it's shinier and it's a more durable finish, so you can distinguish the difference between his lures and my lures just by the shine and the finish. There's a porpoise he made, the light gray one, and I made the dark gray one, and I just kind of like the shine, and it's a better durable finish. I drop mine on the concrete and it doesn't really hurt them. But of course his lures don't get hurt either. Now these fishing lures, by hand painting them versus airbrushing them, it just gives them more personality. Because when you airbrush things, I think it's kind of more of a mass production thing. You can duplicate whatever you're doing. When you hand paint, each one has its own unique, individual style and personality. And a fishing lure it's just as simple as a paintbrush handle, which is exactly what this is. It was the end of a wooden paintbrush handle. You can see where it would hang on the hook on the wall. And I took it and cut a little fishtail, simply painted it up and put some screw eyes and a line tie on it so that you could take it fishing, catch fish, and feed your family. So it has a purpose of, being able to be useful. It also has a purpose of being able to display and just be beautiful. And they just talk to you when you look at them. I had the privilege of taking this little turtle lure that I made, because bass like little baby turtles too. And I got to fish this one with Marco when he came out for the site visit. And we went out in a little canoe out on Frog Pond where Richard lived there in Coleman Hill, Texas. Unfortunately, it was late in the afternoon and there was a little storm off in the distance, so it was a little windy and the fish weren't biting. But we enjoyed the boat ride, and he got to get some pictures of me fishing that little turtle lure anyway. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed Marco's site visit. All the work that I did was up in Richard's workshop in Coleman Hill, Texas. He had a nice workshop, air-conditioned workshop. Right now we're in what I call my little workshop, workbench in my garage, and it's just a little over 100 degrees out here right now. It's Saturday afternoon, about 12:30. But anyway, and then he has his style and I have my style, and I call this a little popper lure. It's actually copied off of a lure that was made back in the 40s. I just put my own style to it, but there's really nothing new under the sun, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed learning from Richard. I enjoy being a part of this program, and I look forward to someday in the future, hopefully going to like a high school, to one of the bass fishing clubs, and teaching a whole class on how to make a fishing lure and the art of the fishing lure. I thank you for your time, and thank you again for this opportunity, TexasFolklife.org.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Bill. That is amazing work. Before introducing our final showcase of part 2, we would like to thank the Texas Commission on the Arts, a close and vital partner of Texas Folklife, who helps make the apprenticeship program possible. Texas Folklife's apprenticeship program is also made possible by a state partnership award from the National Endowment for the Arts in partnership with the Texas Commission on the Arts, and support from the board and members of Texas Folklife. Additional support is provided by the Cultural Arts Division of the City of Austin Economic Development Department, Arts Council from Wichita Falls, and the Indigenous Cultures Institute. We also would like to extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation to Texas Folklife's Folk Saint members for making this program possible. If you're interested in applying or would like more information on the apprenticeship program, please contact me, Marco Guarino, at the email address apprenticeships@texasfolklife.org, or fill out a program interest form on our website. Please consider supporting the apprenticeship program directly by making a tax-deductible donation to Texas Folklife by clicking the donate button on our homepage at texasfolklife.org. For more dynamic folk and traditional arts programming and initiatives, you can also visit our website and tap like or subscribe to our social media channels. So for our last group, I'm really thrilled to introduce our final team from San Antonio, Priya Vadkhana Raja and Shruti Satish. Priya is the mentor and has been practicing Bharatanatyam, or Indian classical dance, for 14 years and has studied with Guru Dr. Sridhara Adkihebalu. Bharatanatyam is a dance that uses Nrita and Abhinya to convey religious, cultural, and spiritual themes. Nrita is the use of strict lines, calculated footwork, and fixed movement of dance. This is performed and practiced in accordance with Abhinya, which is the expression of various human emotions through the use of facial muscles, hand gestures, and eyes. Priya is currently mentoring Shruti, who is preparing to perform her Arangetram, a milestone for an Indian classical dancer. Priya coaches Shruti in the most challenging piece of her Arangetram, which is Varnam, a 33-minute long piece. During my site visit, I was particularly impressed by both of them, as they both displayed a tremendous amount of dedication to this tradition. Please welcome Priya and Shruti.
Hello.
Right.
Before I introduce myself, thank you, Marco, again, for this wonderful introduction, and thank you to Texas Folklife for this amazing opportunity to showcase our Indian classical dance form on a bigger platform. Just to re-establish what Marco said, my name is Priya Raja, and I've been practicing Bharatanatyam for the past 14 years under the guidance of Guru Dr. Sridhara Adkihebalu in San Antonio. Shruti, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Shruti Satish. I'm 14 years old and I've been studying Bharatanatyam from the age of 6. And as Marco mentioned, I've also been practicing Bharatanatyam under the guidance of Dr. Sridhara Adkihebalu. And thank you so much, Texas Folklife, for giving us this amazing opportunity and all the work towards preserving the diverse cultures in Texas.
I'd like to give a good background of what Bharatanatyam is before we delve into what Shruti and I have been working on. So it's this Indian classical dance form that originated from Tamil Nadu, India, which is really nice because Shruti and I are actually from Tamil Nadu and we both are Tamil. So it was really nice to be able to share our passions over our culture and to be able to relate to her music because all of her music for her Arangetram is written in Tamil. So that was nice. And in addition, Shruti and I have known each other from before. Since we are Tamil, we are in multiple communities in San Antonio. So our work together was just seamless as well. So the word Bharatanatyam was derived by joining two Sanskrit words, Natyam, which means dance, and Bharata, which is like a mnemonic containing Ba, standing for Bhava, meaning emotions, Ra for Raga, meaning melody, and Ta for Tala, meaning rhythm. So therefore the term Bharatanatyam is the dance that expresses Bhava, Raga, and Tala. And there are these 5 styles of Bharatanatyam, but Shruti and I were taught the Bandanallur style of Bharatanatyam. So this style tends to be more feminine and tends to focus on variety of like sitting postures and swift movements. Shruti, would you like to talk about the milestones that we go through to get to your Arangetram level that you're in now?
So 2 major milestones in a Bharatanatyam dancer's journey are 1, a Salange Puja, and 2, an Arangetram. So a Salange Puja is basically like a ceremony honoring the Salange, or also known as the ankle bells of a dancer. So I actually have them here, and they look like this. and they have little bells attached to them. So when we like tie them around our ankles, they like make noise and assist the dance. So once a dancer has been learning Bharatanatyam for a couple of years and they have like a good amount of knowledge in Bharatanatyam, the bells are then blessed and presented to the student from the guru or the teacher. So traditionally, the student is not supposed to dance with the bells until the ceremony is performed. The salange or bells help like emphasize the rhythm of the music, the beats or the thala of the music, as well as the dancer's footwork. So once you get your bells, it's kind of like an achievement of its own. It comes with like your own responsibility, and it shows that from now on you really are a Bharatanatyam dancer. And you have to make sure to be careful with your bells, put them in the right places, not lose them. Overall, it's a very important milestone for a beginner Bharatanatyam dancer. So after the Salange Puja, you continue learning for a while, and the next milestone that comes along is an Arangecham. So what is an Arangecham? An Arangecham is a major milestone in a Bharatanatyam dancer's journey. The word Arangecham literally means ascending the stage. The Arangecham is a solo dance performance that is performed after years of training and your Salange Puja. It's the very, very first time a student performs the full show by themselves. Preparation for this takes a full year and even more, in which during that time the student will learn 8 items, each showcasing unique aspects of Bharatanatyam.
Shruti's Varnam was entirely written in Tamil, which I said that we both speak it. So it was really nice to be able to relate to music and to be able to showcase music with a language that we were already familiar with. So it was in its most authentic way possible. And so each of the 8 pieces that Shruti was performing, each one either focuses on jati, so just like footwork and rhythm, or like abhinaya and like storytelling of a story from Hindu mythology, or stories just conveying regular day-to-day things. And we decided to focus on the longest piece, the Varnam, and it technically usually ranges from like 25 to 45 minutes. And it tests the dancer on the intricate jatis and their abhinaya simultaneously while testing their stamina. And it, again, as I said, it takes a story from Hindu mythology where the dancer portrays a character throughout the entire piece. The Varnam is technically divided into these small segments, and it goes back and forth from jati, so like the footwork and patterns, and then into the abhinaya.
So my Varnam, the one that I'm performing during my Arangecham, is titled Anname in Ragam Valachi, and it's a 35-minute piece. So the story is from the perspective of Devane, Lord Murga's wife. So Lord Murga is a character in Hindu mythology. So similar how there are Greek gods in Greek mythology, in Hindu mythology there are Hindu gods. So Lord Murga is one of the major gods in Hindu mythology. So the story again is from Lord Murga's wife, Devane. So Devane talks to the bird, also known as Anname, which is the title of my piece. So Devane talks to the bird about her wave of emotions regarding her husband engaging in an affair with a girl named Vali.
So in a regular Varnam, the dancer usually portrays one character or one character's perspective. But in Shruti's Arangecham, she's actually tested on multiple characters in her Varnam alone. She is playing perspectives of Lord Muruga, Devane, and Bali all in one piece. So having to change the characters and then the rasas, which are the emotions or the aesthetics of the mood that's created in that moment, in addition to the given jati, is so difficult, while having to maintain core control, energy, and stamina throughout her 35-minute piece. So our goal was to focus on achieving the major skills in the Varnam, as it is the most difficult and the most difficult piece that a dancer will ever encounter in our Arangecham. And while she discovered her own unique style in Bharatanatyam.
So how me and Priya organized this was we met once a week for 2 hours, and every time we met, we would work on our Varnam, the longest piece. So the Varnam, as mentioned, switches between Nrita, which is footwork, calculated movements, and Abhinaya, which is expression of emotions and storytelling. So each time we met, we broke down either Nrita or Abhinaya. We alternated from like week to week, so we could focus on just one part instead of combining both parts and making it too messy. So on the days that we broke down the Nrita, we would work on technique and the like very basics of how to do Adavu. But not only and Adavu is basically like some of the simpler steps. And a lot of these simpler steps are like the foundation for the more intricate steps. So they're kind of like the basic steps of Bharatanatyam. So on the days that we broke down the Nrita, we worked on the technique and the basics of how to do an Adavu, but not only the basics of how to do an Adavu, but also have ways to enhance a very basic Adavu. So we can use things such as our eyes, body language, shoulders, basically any part of your body to enhance a very basic Adavu and make it more visually appealing for the audience. On the days we worked on Abhinaya, which is storytelling, facial expressions, all that, we focused on how to correctly emote the character's intentions and mood. Sometimes we can be like thinking one thing, but when we're performing, it doesn't exactly turn out that way on our face. So we worked on correctly emoting the character's intentions and precise emotions.
Adding on to what Shruti was saying, so enhancing our Adavus allows us to create our own unique style. And this was just such a learning moment for me as well, because when I figured out quickly that Shruti's style was more of a passive presence on stage, whereas mine is more of a little bit more slightly aggressive or a stronger presence on stage. So it's how we both worked on how we can make the Adavus or like the Nrita more her style and how to just give an overall tone of passiveness throughout her Varna. And adding onto the emotions or Abhinaya, like facial expressions tend to be very subtle when we use it in a very on like a day-to-day basis with our peers, our family, our friends. But in Bharatanatyam, there is this emphasis of dramatization of the 9 rasas or emotions. Even our makeup on stage, it's really, really dramatic so that our emotions are accessible to all the audiences. And we were thinking, we had a conversation about how emotions are a language that is accessible to all and it has no borders to be understood. And we focused on that notion that the art is storytelling through Abhinaya focus does not end at facial expressions, but goes on to body language as well, which we put importance on to carry throughout the entire piece.
So I'm just going to walk you guys through a typical session for me and Priya. So Priya and I will sit down and I have the song for my Varnam Anime. So we'll discuss the lyrics that we are working with that week. As mentioned before, we switch between Abhinaya and Nrita. So we discuss the lyrics that we are working on that week, and I actually have a binder where I know you guys can't see, but we write down the lyrics, and I write down the hand gestures for each repetition.
So I'll say the lyrics of one segment that we worked on, and Shruti can show you the hand gestures or mudras. So here we go. Anname Arugenilva Andarangam Ondu Solven Keladi. So Shruti, would you be able to explain what you just showed quick?
So basically what I just showed is Anname, meaning bird, Anname Aruginilva. So I basically said, bird, please come over here. Antarangam Ondru Solven Keladi. I have this deep secret that I can't tell anyone and I want to tell you. I'm going to tell you, can you please listen to me?
So now we can play the music and she can show you with the music. This line repeats a total of 7 times, and each repetition, the Abhinaya gets more intense to represent the character's wave of emotions and her intensity of sadness and anger.
So I'm going to play the music. Hopefully you guys can hear it. So basically, what I did here was there was 7 repetitions, and in each repetition, we use different hand gestures or mudras to portray what Devane, the Lord Murga's wife, is feeling in this particular stanza.
So that's our typical session. And thank you again to Texas Folklife for being able to give us this opportunity to explore ourselves in both discussions of being a mentor and apprenticeship.
Thank you.
First,
Thank you. Go ahead, Shruti. What were you going to say?
I was just going to thank Texas Folklife so much for this opportunity, and I think both of us learned so much, and it was an amazing opportunity presented to the both of us, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So now we will have our panel discussion led by our panelist, Taylor Johnson Carahan. Taylor Johnson Carahan is a PhD candidate in the Department of American Studies at the University of Texas in Austin, where she researches contested cultural memory in settler empires with a focus on marked and unmarked burial grounds in Texas and the narratives they evoke about the history of this state. This year, Taylor is the recipient of a College of Liberal Arts Research Fellowship and a Humanities Institute Research Award to complete her dissertation research, and currently teaches a multidisciplinary course on ancestral remains at UT Austin. Thank you, Taylor, for being here. I will leave the floor for you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marco, and thank you, as we've all been doing, to the Texas Folklife Apprenticeship Program for showcasing this incredible and unconventional group of Texas artists. I know for me, as a San Antonian born and raised, I really appreciated and enjoyed seeing all the different parts of art and culture practiced in Texas that were represented here today. Before we move on to this discussion, and I'm going to try not to take too much of anybody's time, I just want to take a moment to highlight some of what our participants have already shared about their motivations and inspirations in this showcase. Michael and Ariane put in simple but profound terms the importance of people playing music together, one generation to another. They mentioned that all music is folk music. We've got it inside of us. And I think you can really see that from the beautiful duet that you showed us. The way that your voices have different tones and ranges, but they harmonize together to create a piece of art that's grander than just one instrument or one voice alone. I was thinking that maybe that's part of what folk music does. It's all kinds of stories from people with all kinds of backgrounds and life experiences that are put to music and remind us that we are kinfolk. We are in community with each other and we have much to learn from each other. Jacques and Dahlia had a relationship, they mentioned, that predates this apprenticeship program, growing up in the same town and having families that know each other, reminding us that, in fact, a lot of the time, these kinds of artistic relationships have so many intersections already, especially if you're talking about people that come from a small town. Jacques made a great point that trail riding is genuinely enjoyable, a way to break free and relax from the work week on a Saturday. But at the same time, Dahlia mentioned that there's also imbued within this pleasurable activity a historic legacy of slavery, of land theft in East Texas, of Zydeco music. And so trail riding is an important way, from what I took from their interview, to keep connections to those legacies while celebrating and enjoying the weekend with your neighbors and even uplifting young folks and people in need in your community. So Bill Bailey, of course, had to miss this live program. And in that recorded video, he talked about how despite losing Richard just a few months ago, he decided to continue learning in Richard's honor. Even though neither of them were here with us today for this showcase, Bill showed us some of the work Richard left behind that he's learning from, as well as some of the pieces he's made with his own sort of spin on them. I noticed on Richard's funeral pamphlet that he was born in 1942. And looking at those lures sitting on Bill's desk, I was thinking how beautiful it is to remember that these pieces of art may continue to be useful and to make us smile long after we're gone. Finally, Priya brought up that the style of Indian classical dance that she and Shruti practice and have been working on during this apprenticeship program comes from the Tamil Nadu, which is the state that they are from what I took from that, and that most of the stories incorporated are written in the language that they speak. So it's a way for them to connect to their heritage and homeland as they work within this dance community in San Antonio. In this way, it is both an artistic form to learn and practice, as well as a way to honor the legacies that you come from. And Priya and Shruti bring their own characters and styles to both of these intentions. I thought that was pretty awesome. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more and then I'm going to get to some questions. I wanted to say thank you to all of the participants for allowing us into your artistic journey during this showcase. I think when we encounter pieces of art, Marco had mentioned this a little bit, we so often only get to see the finished piece, whether this is a dance performance, a concert, a completed project that's hung in a gallery or museum, the beautiful relationship between a horse and a trail rider that Delia was mentioning. What we often don't get to see, I think, at least not very closely, is the artistic process itself, the kind of passing down of cultural inheritance through generations, the hours and hours of appreciating and learning and practicing a craft that transition one from beginner level to master. I think from this showcase, we got a behind the scenes look at these processes as you all shared with us your experiences as a part of this apprenticeship program, as well as the significance of these art forms in your life and to the bountiful cornucopia of cultures in Texas. This group of artists in particular represents a wide breadth of cultural expressions that make up the artistic legacies of this state. From some of the art forms more traditionally associated with Texas as it is popularly conceived of, like Americana folk guitar at the Woody Guthrie Folk Music Center, to art forms like Black trail riding traditions in East Texas and artisanal fishing lure construction that have been historically marginalized and threatened by anti-Blackness, by settler colonialism, and even by mass market capitalism. This showcase also embodies the contemporary experiences of people who have found a home in Texas, with Indian classical dancers from San Antonio representing a cultural link between Tamil art forms and Hinduism, and the state that boasts the second largest population of Indian Americans in the United States. I think a lot about Texas. I'm kind of a Texas historian. And so the land that we now call Texas has, for nearly 10,000 years, been a place that people have called home. The streams and rivers and fertile soil have provided refuge and sources of life for many indigenous peoples of North America, as well as people from many other regions of the world. For nearly all of that history, the different caretakers of Texas intended it to be a refuge for those in need of one and a friendly place to seek a better life. It has, of course, not always lived up to that standard. But with the manifold artistic expressions that we have on showcase here today, I think we are moving toward a more comprehensive realization of Texas's aspirations. I am so genuinely appreciative of the insights you have shared with us today and the spotlight that you have put on your Texas folklife art form. Okay, now for my first question. I would like to hear from everyone who is here. Some of you have already kind of spoken to this question, and so if you don't want to reiterate, I think that's okay. I tend to think of apprenticeships as a link in a chain of cultural continuity, of traditions and skills, and even interest being passed down through time and across different spaces to sustain an art form and allow it not only to survive, but to thrive. If you didn't have a chance already to speak to this to our mentors, I have a question. As you work through this program to form the link with your apprentices, I'm wondering from what or whom did this artistic expression come down to reach you? So, how did you learn both the skills themselves, but also the significance of this art form as a cultural expression?
You're definitely first. Um,
Well, I mentioned it as a child that I ran into a guy that played the guitar, and I got to go to his family's house, and they played music together, and that was really that in church. Going to churches where they played music, and that's where the generations got to kind of meet up together and sitting around the campfire with people, playing music, that kind of thing.
kind of same for me as well. I grew up in church with my grandparents always taking me, so I always wanted to sing when I was there, um, and the crowd always or the church people always wanted to listen to me. Um, and then after I learned guitar during that 1 week of guitar, my grandparents are the one that brought me to Woody Guthrie, and that's this is where I kind of found my passion really for music, and as I continued with music, in my next, I guess it was my life with it.
I think Priya, you might be our only other mentor here.
Oh, I got into Bharatanatyam seeing dancers perform in temple settings or community settings, and it appealed to me because music was written in my language and it connected a lot with me. And then after my milestone of my art engagement, I had opportunities to meet with other dancers around the world, and being able to see their own understanding of what Bharatanatyam is, it just made me realize of that cultural significance and how much meaning Bharatanatyam has created for many people.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a kind of the flip side question to the apprentices. So, what do you think your role will be as this program kind of comes to its end in continuing to build this cultural chain? Do you have any plans for what you'd like to do with this form of art in the future or your practice of it? Dalia, do you want to take us off?
Sure, yeah. I plan to continue to learn the craft of trail riding personally, and also to kind of use my work and whatever iteration that may form into to call for Black reparations here in Texas, specifically because of the narratives and the maps that you can draw specifically from trail riders to land, to the lumber industry, which eviscerated East Texas, to the railroad industry that displaced Black and brown families and indigenous families throughout East Texas as well.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, of course. I was just asking what you think your role will be to continue building the kind of cultural chain that was sort of passed down to you in this apprenticeship program. Like, what do you want to do moving forward from here with this art form?
So after this program, I plan to, of course, continue learning, expand my knowledge. And now that I've worked with Priya, I kind of have a sense of individuality in my dancing. So continuing to maybe choreograph pieces of my own, learning more about the beats would help in me choreographing for myself. And to spread the art form, I would really love to teach other students in the future and mentor and, of course, continue performing.
Ariane, did you want to add anything?
Okay. I was like, do I unmute myself? Okay. So I have recently gotten to do that same class that I took almost 5 years ago. I got to be the mentor, I guess, in that class, and got to teach a couple of friends and young ones about guitar and folk music and kind of like my form. And then I am also right now in UNT College in Denton studying music production and performance. Planning on getting a degree maybe in vocal teaching or even learning how to produce other artists and myself being as a singer-songwriter. Just kind of follow my dream. That's always been my dream, is just to be a Christian musician. So I'm hoping that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds great. I hope you all, can do that. I think you have gained a lot, hopefully, to feel confident in your ability to keep moving forward with this. My next question for you all is on more of a grand scale. Dalia already, I think, brought COVID into their presentation, and I'm kind of touching again on that as well. I think we have globally and locally been in what could be called a compounding series of crises at the moment, from resurging waves of a pandemic that's in its third year to climate instability and the lack of infrastructure to deal with its manifestations. I think our political climate is no more stable than our environment. And our news cycles are filled with a seemingly constant stream of people telling us that these are unprecedented times. I think even our jobs and our artistic expressions seem to be coming under threat of elimination by artificial intelligence. For many, if not most of us, the future looks and feels quite uncertain. However, I have the sense from your presentations and from your participation in this program that you recognize the sustaining and restorative power of these cultural art forms. So I'd like to hear from each of you about what in all of this chaos you feel is the importance of maintaining these artistic practices as we kind of move forward into this uncertain future. What do these art forms do for you and your communities? What tools do they provide spiritually, emotionally, practically, physically, intellectually, transformatively, especially in the midst of these coalescing challenges?
Well, I believe this place that we're in right now, it's a community gathering place. Uh, and the more people can get together and communicate and have a sense of community, the better off we all are. And the fact that we get to do it playing music is just a tiny part of what we can do to help the community. We get a chance to bring children in here and teach children. We get a chance the senior citizens come here on Friday nights. It's a gathering place. We get people like Arian that come in kind of between those groups and, just about being together and communication. And, the more we can all talk to each other and whatever we're doing, the better off we'll be.
I can go next. I think about like chaos, kind of like a fire, right? Not all fire is bad. Contained fire is good. Contained fire allows things to be cleaned out, right, and new things to grow. And so, although we are in the midst of chaos, this is also a great opportunity for creation, for renewal, right, for rebirth, right, in many ways. And so, I think that with trail riding specifically, although we do see communities, impacted by everything that's happening, especially in the state like Texas. I think that this is new ground, new fertile ground, right, for them to innovate as well. Also, I think that the purpose of trail riding too, there's this rootedness that you find in it, right? So when we're talking about, again, the maps that kind of draw, lines to the legacies of folks from specifically Black folks here in Texas, that rootedness and that ancestral knowledge is what kind of keeps folks going, right? So using the knowledge of Sankofa, where we're looking back and we're also in the present, but we're using that knowledge from the history to look forward, right? So that's what trail riding is for me.
The basis of a lot of Bharatanatyam is storytelling. We were just taught to use, Hindu mythology, our religious stories, and convey that through our art form. But through my years of experience and now in college, I was able to find a lot of like-minded peers, and we were able to use Bharatanatyam, our storytelling skills, to showcase a lot of social movements and problems that are around. I go to UT Austin, and there's just a lot of, there's so many things going on here. So we were able to use that and bring like-minded artists, people who make music on their own, and we were able to showcase a lot of social movements, which I love that Bharatanatyam gave that platform to do so.
I agree with that. I feel like we can use Bharatanatyam as a way to spread awareness through our dance. For example, I recently watched a dance performance where it was focused on global warming, and they used hand gestures, mudras, and storytelling to tell the audience the problems that our world is facing. And along with that, I feel like we can all just bond together as a community over these issues.
Yeah. I think I hope that can happen moving forward from here. I think it will. I hope that it will. I hope it will continue to. Ariane, did you have anything you wanted to add about what do you think is the importance of art in this kind of generative moment, as Dalia mentioned?
Um, I think it's very important that like as we get older, we're realizing that there isn't the same, there's new stuff that's developing now, to where you forget some of the old traditions that we have from the past. And I feel like it's really important to keep our traditions as we go, or as we move on through life, just because what makes our traditions is doing them over and over again. And I feel like the importance of music to me is just, who am I going to teach next on how to be a better songwriter, be a better musician, just in that
Better
form.
person.
Yeah, a better person. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you all sort of mentioned a sort of both grounding element of these art forms and also a sort of generative element of them as well, that they kind of center us and also help us moving forward to speak on different things that are happening in our communities, to learn from each other, to improve as people. Yeah, I feel like we're nearing the end of the time that I was working on. So I will just maybe close this out and say again, thank you for sharing your practice with us today and for letting us hear about your journey through this art form and through this apprenticeship program. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I hope that even as we continue moving through these kind of profound destabilizations, that we allow ourselves to be stabilized by our art, by our cultures, our crafts, our music, our practices, and our communities.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you to everyone, um, to Mike, Ariane, Dalia, Shruti, Priya. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. So that is the end of our showcase. one final thank you to everyone that came to see us on the screen. I also want to say that I really enjoyed getting to know the people in this cohort. You guys are doing amazing work. And thank you to Ben Doyle of Ben Productions for his technical assistance. And thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe.